Hi everyone, welcome back to Adobe Live Pro Tips. You've made it to our final day exploring Adobe Lightroom. My name is Cyn Lagos. I am a graphic designer, a photographer, and aspiring filmmaker. And today we're going to be exploring Adobe Adobe Lightroom presets specifically. So I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can find your own presets and also create your own presets. So let's get started. Okay, we're in Adobe Lightroom, and this might look a little bit different, but that's okay. This is something that in general might not open up right away as you explore Lightroom, as you fire up Lightroom, but this will be found here on the left-hand section in the Discover panel. So this is pretty cool. When I discovered it, I felt like I discovered this whole new world of Adobe Lightroom. And I think creators today have it really, really good because you don't have to step away from the software itself to go find inspiration, to learn, to educate yourself on how to edit photos. There is, of course, you can always come by Adobe Live, but there's just so much here. And I know for me that when I'm exploring, when I'm in my zone, when I'm in my editing zone, and I'm just kind of into my workflow, I don't want distractions. So I do love that I can just come in here and be in the same zone and discover different artists that are also creating different photography and all styles of photography in here and sharing it. And you can actually share it too. That's one of my favorite parts about this. And I've actually been doing that myself. So I'm going to show you, let's explore this section a little bit so that you can get a better acquainted and you can find how it can benefit you on your own time. So right away I have here for you. So these are the recommended things for me. And I can tell it's definitely showing me some really cool adventure photography, some landscape photography things I'm really interested in. And I guess I'm really interested in cats as well because it put it in my get inspired section and it wouldn't be wrong. I definitely love cats. I have a cat of my own. And so I love going in here because not only do I get to discover what other photographers are doing around the world, which is incredible, but I also have an opportunity to look deeper within their edits and see how they went about their edits, which is really interesting. So what does this have to do with presets? One of the really cool perks of being able to explore and share is that you can share your presets and have other artists, other photographers use your presets. So your little fingerprint of artistry can be shared around the world. So we have this preset here of this very beautiful, vibrant image, and I want to save it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So it has this little button here that says Save as Preset, and that's optional. You can see that this person, Gabby, did not share their preset. And that's okay. That we love their photo just as well, and we get to appreciate it just as well. But we get some chances to see presets and use other folks' presets too. So if you want to be able to only find those, you can also hit here preset downloadable, and you can turn that on and it'll only show you those available presets for download. So you can always kind of minimize your search. So I'm going to go in here, hit Save as Preset. And Jermaine named it a really cool name, Back to the Future 70s. That's awesome. And put their name on it. So that's really cool. So when I save for presets, it gives me this option of where I want to put it. I can also rename it myself if I want to rename it something like colorful presets. I want to collect colorful presets alone. So I can do that. And I also have a location where to put it. So I have it here saved from Discover. I have it under saved presets, or I have my own folders where I can start organizing myself. We love organization. If you come from Lightroom Classic, I think one of the things we all talk about is how easy it is to organize hundreds and hundreds of images or anything in our workflow within Lightroom Classic. So Lightroom also has those benefits. So I created an artist preset here. I already went ahead and did that. So I'm going to save it in here. And when it tells me to save it, by the way, I already saved this one. I guess that's why. Let's save this one. So save as a preset. And so I'm going to save it into the artist discovery. That's strange. It is not. Oh, okay. I can choose which options. This is important. So I can choose which things I want to save. And that's the reason why it wasn't letting me save anything. So instead of pre-selecting them for me, I can choose to select, hey, I want maybe all of these elements, but not so much the detail. I don't want the detail included because I rather edit that on my own. I don't want my photos to get sharpened before I choose them to be sharpened, because maybe the photo that I'm applying this preset to is a different scenario altogether. Maybe it's something very, oftentimes I like to reference wedding photography because there's a lot of common actions when it comes to post editing. So having a soft photo is a very likable feature or trait of wedding photography. So in that case, I might not want to download the detail or sharpening or things like that. So sharpening exists in effects, so I would probably undo that too. And so I'm going to download this under artist presets. So I know these are presets that I downloaded from the Discover panel. So I'm going to click save now that I've selected which ones I want. And I'm going to go back to my albums and go to my images. Cool. So these images here, I can close this for now. These images here are probably a little bit familiar to you. We've been editing them along the week. And if you've been here throughout all of that, thank you for just being here. Thank yourself for showing up for yourself and educating yourself on something new. And if you haven't been able to see those streams, they're always available for replay. So definitely check those out. Okay, so let's say we want to apply that preset. So how do we do that now that we've saved it? We can go to the preset section, and in here, you'll see that under yours, there's different sections: recommended, premium, and yours, right? Under yours, you're gonna also find those folders, the folders that we were talking about. And look at that, there's our folder, artist presets, okay? So I'm gonna go in here and you can see the Back to the Futures is in there, and the Rest Ibuka Morty preset is also in there. So you can see how that preset, once it's just hovered over, I haven't clicked on it, I have not selected it yet, but you can see how it affects my image. So this one's a very like subtle change, and this one's a very robust, different change. And now the beauty of these is that it doesn't just end there, right? So once I've clicked on that preset, I can still, these aren't just fixed and they're forever that edit. You can still go in here and modify some of these elements. So you can see here, one of the precious things about downloading presets, it's not just to utilize somebody else's hard work and effort, but also if you want to educate yourself in somebody that you admire, somebody's work that you admire, and you can see how they go about editing their work, because that preset is now reflected on our adjustment panels, right? Like you can see it, you can see how this has a little bit of lower highlights, it has a little bit of higher on the shadows, and then all of the adjustments that they made in the white balance, the temperature, a little bit of warmer temperature on that one, a little bit of vibrance too. So you can start almost following this journey of how they went about editing in their workflow to achieve this really cool edit, right? So that's really interesting. One thing I want you to remember when it comes to presets, it can be a little bit frustrating to add someone else's presets when you have a photo with light conditions are vastly different, right? So let's say, for example, if we're jumping into something like this is vastly different from the one that we were just looking at. So this is at night, not in sunlight. How does that image look? And you can see how when I hover over the Rest Ibuka Morty looks a lot different from the previous image, which had a different light condition. So keep in mind that light condition is such an important step in recognizing whether that preset is going to work and it's going to be able to work on the set of images that you were hoping for. So if you're downloading them or if you're supporting artists by buying them, then just keep in mind that your series of images might want to be very similar in light condition in order for them to look exactly as the demo that they display in their shop, or as the demos that we see here on the Discover page. And that's something to keep in mind, because it can be a little bit confusing when you apply them. You're like, well, this doesn't look like that. What's going on, right? Okay, so this image I'm really interested in editing because I want to create our own presets. So how do we do that? How do we create our own presets and we become part of the Discover page, and we're rocking people's world by sharing our own presets? How do we do that? So we have several options here, right? Really cool to be able we haven't left Lightroom yet. We're doing so many cool things already. So I'm going to edit this image. We're going to edit this image together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to correct my cropping, and we're going to apply a few of the edits that we've learned throughout the week. Okay, so cropping is a big one. I almost can't skip cropping because I feel like it's the first step I take. It either determines just the horizon line. You know, oftentimes we just don't hold that camera steady, which is fine. That's what we have post editing. But also it's an opportunity to kind of reconsider how you are editing your image. So I can choose to like leave out some elements I may not want. I can like hone in on that tree a little bit. I can choose to go vertical. So I hit Shift X on that one, and that just flips that crop over. Or I can choose to just leave as is. I can go back to as shot. This is how I wanted it actually, or I just wanted to fix the horizon line with the straining tool. So that's a little bonus there in case you haven't had a chance to really explore the crop feature. I mean, the crop adjustment tool here. There's so many cool things to do in here. Actually, it's not just cropping. It's not that simple. It's actually, more robust than that. So that's always fun. All right, moving on from cropping. Okay, so let's see. I took this image at night. I was attempting to get the stars. I think this was one of my first tries at trying to do that. As you know, my photography doesn't really focus on that. So it's always really fun to venture out into a new technique. And this was me doing that in the middle of the night in the cold. Okay, so I love the way the camp sets are like just really bright, and they're just creating this cool lighting. But I missed out on the stars here a little bit because these are so bright. So I can do a couple things here to basically bring back some of these elements. We're working on a raw image, so potentially, luckily, hopefully we have some stars here to pull out. So let's attempt that. In this bottom section, this is a horizontal slider of how predominant each tonal range is going to be. In our case, I want my tonal range, my shadow or blacks tonal range to be very predominant, so that when I move this line on the graph, it's really affecting most of the shadows. And so I'm gonna just bring that up so I can start to see what that looks like. Now I can do that on the first section and it might give me a completely different result. Let's attempt it. If I bring up the shadows, if I bring up the blacks, I get that really cool matte finish that we've been talking about. That looks really different from what I just did here, right? So just keep that in mind. Those two are very independent, although they look a lot alike because they're dealing with highlights and shadows, and that's it, right? So they definitely act independently and can give you different results. So let's bring that up on the shadows there. All right. Okay, some little stars are coming through. Maybe Orion's belt somewhere. Maybe if we get lucky. All right, no shooting star this time around, but that's okay. Next time. All right, so if I bring that up, you notice that the highlights on the tents don't look as bad because they're still kind of there in the same exact spot, because what we were targeting was the shadows, just how we learned that the tone curves can do that. And so that is a really cool way to just fine-tune your edits. Don't just expose everything completely. You can give it a little nudge. A little nudge helps. you know, a little contrast in here helps. Those things help, but just having more tools in your arsenal so you don't heavily rely on just doing it in this sort of global space is very helpful. So I'm going to go into the shadows section here, add my highlights, midtones, and shadows also, and kind of bring a little bit of blue back into the scene because I don't know, I want to give that whole midnight vibe, right? So that's really cool. I'm liking that already. And I'm going to jump into the color mixer section and jump into our favorite. I'm going to just say it's our favorite, but it's very much my favorite tool, which is the target adjustment tool. So the target adjustment tool, I can click and hover anywhere I want, and it's going to give me a control over whatever hue is in that section. Whatever hue may be there can be affected by changing the hue, changing the saturation, or changing the luminance. So I'm going to change the hue first to a little bit of a tinted green, blue, and then also increase the saturation a little bit. And then let's see what happens when we start messing around with the luminance. Oh, okay. So we have these lights also being affected there. So that's something to think about because it is a global change, right? So we can do the same thing with the target adjustment tool using the point curve. It also exists in here, the target adjustment tool. So we can get specific about which areas are being adjusted. Right, something very subtle. Okay, I'm going to jump into the color grading tool, which in so many words, I find it to be just a way to add color to my images that maybe didn't exist within my image to begin with. And I add colors in the 3 different tonal ranges we've been dealing with, the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. So I'm going to add a bit of warm tonal range to my midtones. I want the camp to look a little bit on the warmer side, right? Something like that. And I'm going to add a little bit of a purple or cooler hue to the shadows. Maybe something purplish I think could be cool, could be a little bit fun. And so now I'm going to jump into something slightly different and maybe we haven't gone into, but that's okay because that's what we're here for today. We're going to add more skills to our skill sets. And I'm going to go into the effect panel and I'm going to add a little bit of clarity. I think in this image, adding a little clarity, you can already see so many more stars coming through by just doing that. We can work with the dehaze to just bring down some of that like overblown light, basically. And these are fast edits, but nonetheless, you can take your time and work through these images and try to create your own effect. And we can go into the detail section and just add a little bit of sharpening and a little bit of detail. Okay, so now we went from this, which was absolutely darkness, to a little bit of light and a little bit more stars, which is really nice. I would continue to edit these and have more fun with them. That's something really cool that, you know, you always just spend hours and hours doing, just exploring different treatments, different color palettes. Now, I love the way this looks, and I feel like I'm ready to share this preset along to anyone who wants to have it. Why not, right? So I can do that by doing a couple things. First, I think I should have this preset for myself. I think that's fair. Okay, so I am going to create this as a preset. Say, for example, why would you want to do that? Easy answer, to speed up your workflow. Speeding up your workflow is going to be really helpful. Say, for example, I have maybe, I don't know, 50 more images of the same scenario that I also took. Maybe I put a subject in the middle. Maybe I played around it and did some other things, did a long exposure, still same light conditions. Then I don't have to edit 50 more images 50 more times. I can definitely just save a preset. So we go into our presets panel, which exists right here. Might be in a different place if you're on your iPad, so keep that in mind. A lot of these things look slightly different in a different UI, but nonetheless they are there, so rest assured for that. So I'm going to go into my preset section, and I already have a bunch of really cool presets in here. So I like keeping and I like naming them fun stuff like cowboy. That's pretty fun. So I'm going to create a preset by adding the plus sign in here. And I'm going to name this Midnight Orion. Okay, so again, similar to before, it asks me, this is why I was a little bit confused because this time it's pre-selected for me. So it asks me, hey, you want to include all of these in your preset, right? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't want to include effects because I don't want the sharpening to affect every image. Or maybe I do want to keep that, and maybe I don't want to keep optics, or whatever, whichever one you want. So you have those options to select from, and it tells you very detailed in a very detailed manner that you have all of these edits. So those are the edits you've created. So that's what you would opt in or opt out. And I'm going to save mine under Cyn Lagos because that's where I keep all my presets. And so I'm going to save this and call it and hit save. Great. It looks like I did it. So now it asks me to view it. I can go in here into Cyn Lagos and I will find my filter somewhere here. Midnight, here you are, Midnight Orion, right? So if I was to add this preset to a different light condition, what would that look like? Could be tricky, can be amazing, or it can look really strange because we have a different light condition. So that's what I was referring to earlier. So let's see, Midnight Orion. Wow. Now that's pretty awesome, right? So that actually worked out in our favor. We didn't have to sort of make too many edits and to compensate for the light conditions. But these are one of those moments where either it goes bust or it's just perfect. It's just amazing. And so when you invest in supporting artists that are selling their presets, or when you download them, just know that they're always going to look different. So you may win and sometimes you may lose, but that's life, right? We're gonna be able to adjust them anyhow. We're gonna be able to make our own adjustments and maybe lower the light sometimes, or sometimes if it's overblown because it was a different color condition, I could choose to lower that lighting a little bit and so on. Nothing's set in stone. So that's really helpful. I'm going to strain this. Cool. That's me, little me. Okay, so that is awesome. So now we have our own presets. We know how to make them. We have our own folder. We start to create collectible presets, maybe. Okay, and I want to now share this preset along on the Discover page because the Discover page is super cool and I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to go in here and go to this section where you're basically just exporting your images, right? We're at that point, it's Friday. We're exporting images and we're sharing. So I'm going to go into this section, and right here you can find a lot of really cool things that we can do, custom setting, JPEGs large. I'm going to go all the way down to the Discover section. So share to Discover. Awesome. And it prompts me to create a title. So I'll call it Orion for now. Awesome, Orion. And I'm going to add description, midnight photo shoot. Excuse any typos. I did it. Okay. And I can select what criteria this is. So I can select it to be, well, it's not architecture, maybe something nature, landscape. Landscape was cool. Night, cool. So, and then it asks me right here, enable save as preset. I think I want to do that. I want to share my preset. Include location info. Oh my gosh. I remember so many times I always wanted to know where that photo was taken. I can also do that. That's really awesome because it reads the metadata and it shares it along. So other folks can attempt to do their own photo shoot. Sharing is caring. So I can also allow remixing. So if somebody wants to play with this image in order to learn to go through their discovery journey of photo editing, I can also allow remixing. Still my image, but then I get to see how other folks edit it. And honestly, that has been a lot of fun because I've seen a few of my images remixed and it just looks so interesting. It's like a whole different viewpoint, a whole different approach, same image, right? So I'm gonna hit share, and that's going to take a little time, and it's going to submit my edit to the world of the discovery page. And you can see here, I get to have my own profile. Also, I get to share it. I'm going to copy that on the clipboard and I get to share it along to other folks and they get to see all of my different edits, which is so awesome. As you hover over, you can see all the different changes that I may have made to my edit. And what's really cool is that you can also jump in here and learn alongside with me. So if you follow this profile, Cyn Lagos, you get to see all these edits. You can follow anyone's profile. Oh, cool. I have a lot of really nice likes on there. And you get to see how I edit it. That's really amazing, especially it's kind of an amazing review of that, especially as we're here on this journey, just learning how to edit our photos, how to develop our own artistry. So thank you so much for being a part of this. This has been a lot of fun for me. And join me on Discord. We're going to continue chatting on all the different features that this has. And yeah, see you next time.